Welcome to another episode of Mark My Words, our podcast that helps business owners and charities to be better, interviewing some great guests with their insights and top tips. So today I'm very pleased to be here with Tracy Viner. Hi Tracy, how are you doing?
Really good, Mark. Thanks. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. So we'll start then. If we could ask you just to introduce yourself, please, and share a little bit about your current professional role and activities, if that's okay.
That's fine. I'm Tracy Viner. I'm the Executive Manager of Sheffield Chamber of Commerce, and my role at the Chamber is to look after policy and public impact. And basically, that's anything that the Chamber does for members that doesn't have a commercial impact. So it's all the lobbying type things we do and sharing information both ways between the Mayoral Combined Authority in South Yorkshire, Sheffield City Council, but also the links with the universities and Sheffield College, and then also the British Chambers of Commerce and anything that comes through from there. So it involves making sure we get as many answers and people responding to our quarterly economic survey, but then sharing the results as well, so people can see how their responses fit into the sort of wider national picture. So there's quite a bit of extra around there that you don't sort of think will fit into anywhere else in the Chamber. So Transport Forum, health and wellbeing, but also our community element as well through Sheffield Business Together, making sure we actually deliver back into communities where they're needed.
Brilliant, thank you. So if anyone's listening to this and isn't a member of the Chamber of Commerce, do look it up. It's a great opportunity to network, to also learn lots of relevant and up-to-date bits, and also just have your say like you've been saying. So yeah, great, check it out. Thank you.
I missed a key bit off there actually, Mark, because you sort of prompted me and said get involved. I also look after our volunteers, which are the Chamber board and the council, which is made up of members, and people forget that sometimes boards are volunteers, but certainly in like a business environment. So I look after those as well.
Right, thank you. Busy lady, it sounds like.
Yes.
So how did we first meet then? How did our paths first cross? And that was a few years ago now, wasn't it?
It was. So God, it was the early 2000s, wasn't it?
Yeah, must be.
Must be. It was when you first joined Junior Chamber. I was a past president by then. I think I was has-been. And you were sort of up and coming, and we got to know each other through some of the socials bits, because I sort of stayed in touch with the Junior Chamber element, which was then JCI Sheffield by then. And I don't know how it became a friendship that then we sort of developed into where we've supported each other through other things, I think.
Absolutely, and we'll come on to that a bit later. But yeah, JCI Junior Chamber International, a global organisation aimed at providing leadership opportunities to develop young people to create positive change. Absolutely changed my life. So anyone's listening and haven't heard of JCI and was in the age bracket of 18 to 40, I should add them, please check them out. Good stuff. It's like a sales message in today, isn't it?
You've got all the messaging right. I'm just going, just drop this in.
You've not got a new book out or a CD out or a tour, have
no,
you?
I'm not promoting anything. You can do all the promotion.
Brilliant. So we'll come on to some of that a bit more, like I said. But before you joined the Chamber of Commerce, you've kind of worked quite a bit in the charity sector in various roles. So I know something that I always get asked a lot is so particularly for people that are working in the commercial sector and might want to move into the charity sector, third sector, however you call it, what sort of tips or advice would you give to them?
Well, I'll just put it a little bit in context, because I originally did train as a PA and was very much in the private sector. And moved over to, I've worked for Macmillan Cancer Support in the region, and then for the Arch Project for over 12 years. I wondered about that move over. So, and one of the things I realised is a lot of people in the private sector, or even in sort of the not-for-profit that's like the university. Well, no, the universities are private sort of thing, but those bigger organisations, you've got a load of transferable skills. You know how to engage with people, you know how to run meetings, you know how to network. You probably have quite a broad network And it's actually just learning those rules around fundraising. And if you care and are passionate about something and want to make a difference, that energy and that passion can actually help you move across quite easily. It's just how you speak about it, can you do it? And it isn't always fundraising you want to go into. You might want to go into service delivery. You might actually be very good at writing tenders, so it might be you end up doing bid writing. There's a whole load of things that the charity sector or the third sector need, but also people forget it. There's still, I think, a slight assumption that people, sort of, it isn't as professional. And when you get in it, it is very professional. They have to be more professional. They have to dot every I, cross every T. They are regulated really, really closely, and you have to make sure you're doing things properly. They are also governed quite often by boards of trustees that are volunteers. So there's that element of having to be all things to all people, and you need to be flexible. So quite often a role in a charity is you might have a job title that looks like you're doing one thing, but you have to be a team player. And I think the biggest thing I would say is be prepared to be outside your comfort zone, and you've got transferable skills, take them with you, but be prepared to learn more, do more, because you will be learning every day.
Great tips, thank you. Yeah, and I think you've given a good overview of what it's like and all the different elements to it. I remember one of the charities I used to work for, the founder trustee was lovely. She was very inspirational, would get up on the stage welcoming people, a very good public speaker, did that storytelling really well. And literally behind the scenes, she would literally be on her hands and knees scrubbing the floor, making the cups of tea, emptying the bins, that kind of stuff. So absolutely, yeah, I know that's always stuck with me.
And one of the really valuable things I think I've learned coming back into the private sector is actually the private sector, you can afford to buy your great team and skill sets that are missing around you and put people in. You can't always do that in the third sector or in your charity. You have to work with the skill sets that you've got with the team around you and probably make do. And sometimes it's 2 or 3 people added together to fill a missing gap, because and so you have to be prepared to, it's that added flexibility. And maybe you need to find a volunteer to fill that gap because you haven't got that skill set or the salary available at that time to do it. So, but it really is about that, having that team and recognizing the skills that you've got within it.
Brilliant, thank you. Good advice, good advice. So when I think of you, Tracy, one of the things I think of
what's coming
is that you've got a very extensive network. You're well known, well respected, and for me, you're definitely one of my top people that I go to if I need anything or need to know anything. I'm like, Tracy will know, or Tracy will know the right person, or somehow Tracy will help, really. So kind of what's your response to that, and how have you done that, and what advice would you give to sort of nurture that network and those connections?
I actually think that's possibly one of my strengths, but also one of my weaknesses, in that I always want to help people. So that's a key element of my values. So sometimes I'll say, I'll sort that for you, or I'll help you do that, and I haven't got a clue. But because I've done that frequently and given myself jobs to do, it's gradually built that I do know.
It's all fake.
No, it's not. But to begin with, it probably was, that I first started, because it was that I can do that. What do I do next, sort of thing. But it's actually, to me, it's about people. It's always been about people and relationships and talking to people, asking the questions and being honest. If you ask for some help from somebody and they can't help you that time, you accept it. You don't get stroppy with them, or certainly in the fundraising side of it, actually, I need this favor, but you're allowed to say no. And it's actually having true relationships with people and being honest and being open. And I think that's where I think some of my relationships, I might not contact people regularly, but they know when I do contact them, it's a genuine ask, and they'll help if they can. And not making promises I can't keep either, and actually being honest that if somebody does ask for something and I'll go, I don't know how to do that, but have you thought of, or let's think of a way around it, and then supporting the person to do that. So they're quite open then when I go, can you help me?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's two-way relationships. You
Mhm.
can't just assume you can keep asking. And
Yeah.
sometimes have a conversation with somebody where you're not asking for something and just care about them. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Excellent. And so something I've asked of you many a times and over the years is you've been my mentor, particularly we mentioned earlier in within a JCI Junior Chamber International setting, and been my mentor when I've held various leadership opportunities and roles within the organization. So what would you say is the primary purpose of a mentor? And then thinking how we've worked together, how do you, this isn't a test, how do you think you've sort of helped me in terms of that mentoring piece?
It's really interesting because some people see mentors as coaches or a sort of counselling role. And to me, it's actually more of a sounding board, bringing out the best of the person. So you're not skewing what they want to do and how they want to move forward, what their goals are. It's helping them draw that out. And it's just being that extra voice. And that if you've done a similar role or have understood that or know what's involved, it just actually helps ask those difficult questions to make sure they're making the right decisions for themselves. And it isn't always your choice or what you would do, because I know we've had some discussions. I go, well, I do this, but is that right for you? And we've been very honest about that. And it's being that honest friend as well, and actually saying, are you sure you want to do that? And again, questioning and just being that. And it isn't being a conscience for you, because you've got that anyway. But sometimes it's asking those questions that maybe your subconscious is thinking about, but you're not voicing and considering them in your final decision. So but if I can use an example with yourself, you got really, really involved sometimes with Junior Chamber. There was so much going on that actually I was saying to you, where are you? Where's the bit for you to actually have your downtime? And I kept challenging you to say, that's great, you can do all those things as long as you schedule in. Because if you don't schedule it in, you need actual rest time away from Junior JCI, away from your work. And where are those? So we actually started diarising those other elements and adding an element of fun to it as well. Otherwise, you'd just be completely overwhelmed. And hopefully you saw the value in that. I still have to keep doing it to you occasionally now.
I'm a lot better than I used to be.
Yeah, but also it isn't now the argument about doing it. It's actually, yeah, I need to do it. You've recognised the value of it, and you just realise you've not done it for a while. So there are those elements.
I think those are really good examples. And so we're recording this in 2023, and of course one of the things that through the stuff that we've done together in that challenge is that, you know, I set myself a list of 23 things to do in 2023. So some big things like go skiing for the first time, which I did, to as we did the other day, try and learn how to make Yorkshire pudding so they weren't like muffins, which you helped me with. So yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, but I got the benefit of that. There was something in it for me. I got to eat it.
Brilliant, love it. So as well as making Yorkshire puddings, how other ways have you benefited from being a mentor, would you say? And I know not just working with me, because you've worked with other people and you've given your time very generously to other people over the years.
I've learned an awful lot about different people styles and how their thought process, how they make decisions. But I think I've benefited because some of the things that I've been saying that would benefit you, I realise I need to do for myself and don't do. So it actually becomes a learning opportunity for me as well. And like your 23 things for 23 has been a challenge. Like take some of the things, I can step out of my comfort zone a bit more and do some more things and do a bit more planning. But over the years, I think it's been about actually, I've probably got as much out of it as my mentees have, because one of the things, the joy from it is seeing them grow and achieve the goals. I've worked with a few people, two of them in particular, yourself and another friend, who both went on to be national presidents of JCI. And when I started working at a local president, I never expected that would then continue and go on for that. And it's some of the joy of, for me, that whole seeing you grow, develop and achieve your goals, and sometimes exceeding them, that's part of why I want to do it, to see other people grow. I've actually supported people that have gone on well beyond any work level and experience level or voluntary role level that I would ever aspire to or actually think I could achieve. But I've been able to sort of sit behind and support them to do that. And it's fantastic to see people to be able to do that. And it isn't something I want to do or wanted to do, but it's actually taking a joy from somebody else's success, which is wonderful.
Right, thank you. And certainly, you know, I'm very grateful for your many years of support, and kind of I think that also helps me do that pay it forward thing and see how I can sort of, you know, give advice or guidance or even mention to other people as well. So yeah, it kind of has that legacy, I suppose, isn't it?
Yes.
Really? Brilliant, thank you. So question I always like asking my guests is, if you were to start out again, either your career or, you know, working in particular industries, how do you want to take this, and you were to go back and give yourself, your younger self, the benefit of some top tips and wisdom that you've learned now, what would that be? What would you tell yourself?
It's okay not to be okay. Not all employers get that, but it is actually okay. That it's not going to be a straight path to anywhere. You don't have to have a goal, just enjoy the ride and be realistic about if a job or a company's values don't match yours, recognize that, see if there's something you can change internally. If you can't move, if you can't work to your values, it's not a right fit, and can be very uncomfortable. It isn't always about the salary. a lot of people think, oh, I've got to get promoted, but sometimes it is actually about the value of the people that you're working with, the impact that you're making, and that doesn't have to be in a third sector job. That's in any role anywhere. And sometimes it's the team that you're with as well, and sometimes it's the relationships with your customers. Sometimes it's all of that together. When you get all of that meshing, that's fantastic.
Brilliant, love it, thank you. And I guess kind of following on from that, thinking sort of about the present day, as it were, have you got any personal rituals or habits or routines or resources, maybe books, tools, podcasts, anything that that you find really helpful in what you do personally, professionally?
I'm not very good at rituals and, you know, sort of making sure I do ask for help when you need it is one of the key elements. Don't suffer, or if you're not coping, be realistic about that, and, you know, and ask for that help. The other thing is actually to reflect each day. I had some very wise counsel, and they told me to make a note at the end of each day, even if I don't do a full journal, of what I'm proud of from the day, what I could do better, and what I've learned from each day. So it's actually, so it does give you that opportunity to sort of lose everything, not lose it, but let go of the day, but in a good way. It's quite positive way of looking at it. So to try and do that every day. One of the key things is I try and start each day with a plan to eat healthily all day, because I have learned that the healthy food does actually help your brain, helps your energy and your decision making all the way through. Doesn't always work. Most days it doesn't work. There's too many temptations, but at least I try every day to do that.
Right, thank you. I really like that journaling idea as well. So it's something I've done with teams, particularly weekly, but I don't really do it myself. So you've given me a bit of food for thought there as well. Thank you, lovely. Is there anything else you want to share or add that you've not had chance to say yet? Anything else occurs to you?
I just think if anybody gets the opportunity to mentor somebody, look at why they've asked you, because sometimes it isn't always a match. And there have been people I've had to turn down, sometimes because it's been overlapping, other times there isn't that. I've not got the right experience. But also I remember asking somebody if they would mentor me, and they very kindly, we sat down, went for a drink and had a chat about it and looked what I was looking for and said, well, actually my experience and where I'm at is not good. I can't open the right doors for you or give the right reflections. yes, I can, but I could do it, but it wouldn't be right. It's not the right combination. It's actually about being honest about that as well, I think.
That's a good point, and kind of finding that fit, and sometimes that's not always there, and that's okay. And it's
so be honest about whether you can help as a mentor, but if you're looking for one, actually be realistic about some people, it might not fit for them as well.
Yeah, and sometimes I know when I do coaching and mentoring and have that initial discovery call, on some occasions, sometimes I'm not the right fit for somebody, and that's okay. And rather than sort of judge myself or, you know, internalize that, it's actually that's okay, in the same way that other people won't always be right for other mentees or coaches. But yeah, okay, good advice again. And then finally, I always ask my guests to get the chance to ask me a question, which I don't know what's come in. So in fact, when we were setting this up, you said, do you want me to tell you what I'm going to ask you? And I was like, no, they don't normally tell me. So fire away, he says, gulp.
No, it's fine, because we're on the topic of mentoring, and this isn't a self-serving question, it's actually trying to open it up wider. What have you got out of having a mentor that you would say tell other people to have one, and those benefits of it? So how would you explain that? What's been in it for you?
Yeah, really good question. I think it's some of the stuff you've said, it's almost like it's been a bit like a mirror, holding a mirror up to yourself, asking those sort of probing questions, at times challenging questions, like, so why do you want to do that? That's been helpful. And then, as well as the kind of key focus and topic area, you know, like we said before, leadership roles, junior chamber, but and you've touched on kind of looking after yourself as well, and that self-care piece. And I think one of the things that I've really taken away, probably the last year or so working with you, is you've always said, I can't remember how you said it, but something like, you know, when you feel like, oh, I've got to do something, or I've got to go to that thing, or I've got to help somebody or whatever, and you can't for whatever reason, it's all right to say, actually, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me right now. So you're doing it respectfully, you're doing it politely, and some of it's about you just might not want to do it, and other times it's about that self-care. You know, that analogy of the bucket of water, with water being all the stresses, and you're full and you just can't take any more. So that's been really helpful. And almost like I have a little Tracy sometimes going, what would Tracy say? What would Tracy
do? How terrifying.
But yeah, no, I have really enjoyed it. And the other thing that I laugh about, and we've laughed about this, is when we very first started working together, which the mentor role, which must have been about 2014, I think. I used to turn up with my paper diary, a pad, my iPad, laptop, you know, all sorts, and you'd be like, okay. And then now, don't have anything, not even a pen, do I?
No, but mainly we put just another date in the diary.
yeah yeah, and planning ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good question.
Good, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Lots of words of wisdom there, and tips and insights, and also genuinely on a personal level, thank you so much for all that you've done and the time you've given and the energy over the years. I really appreciate it, and long let it continue.
Well, I've benefited as well, so thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Good, thank you.